Good afternoon. You're listening to Cannabis Corner on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We are also streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. And we're streaming live video on Facebook and YouTube. Just go to your Facebook page, look us up, and hit see first to see and hear all the great programs that we have here on WNHHLP. And just a reminder, Cannabis Corner is also streaming live on the Greenhaven Media Facebook page and procannabismedia.com, so you can catch us there. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe, get in touch with everything we got going on, because a lot's going to be going on this year for Greenhaven Media and Cannabis Corner Radio. Welcome, everyone. It is Monday, February the 24th, 2025. Welcome to Cannabis Corner. I am your host, Joe LaChance, Joe the Weed Guy, and I, of course, am joined this week by the one and only Mr. Lou Vega. Farmer Lou, how are you this week?
Oh man, Joe, it's floating on air realistically. All the positives and all the stress and everything else that kind of come with it. But you know, Joe, I'm always happy to be here with you on a beautiful Monday afternoon here in New Haven as the weather starts to really get better from that Arctic chill we had last week. It was cold last week, brother.
Absolutely, man.
It was
I actually went
cold.
out and took a walk yesterday. It was so
Oh, it was nicer. It was New England, Connecticut nice. Let's not. It
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
Puerto
I mean,
Rico
for
nice.
winter, no. We got to get there soon. We really do. The
But
flights
brother,
are getting cheaper.
I hope so, brother. Yeah, Joe, I appreciate you. We had a great weekend. We got
Awesome.
to hang out, so that's always a positive.
Shout
And
out to everybody who showed up, Lou. I got to tell you, it was really an awesome turnout. We got to see people from all areas of the cannabis industry come to support this new grand opening of Nautilus Botanicals. Look at this. We were giving away nice lighter covers. I
that's
got me a
right.
lighter cover.
There you
And
go.
it was a really nice time, Lou. I really want to thank you. And the community wants to thank you, too, for getting this open as a community-based, community-themed cannabis dispensary. And that's, I think, what's the most important part.
Listen, Joe, without the community and those that support us, we would be doing absolutely nothing realistically. And I think sometimes that's what gets lost in this space. The
Yeah.
community, the culture, all the different walks of life that come together to create cannabis. Because, it's the one intersection of culture and community that binds us realistically.
Right.
Because you could have the hoity-toity lawyers, the liberal, tree-hugging lawyers. I'm throwing all the different little
Yeah,
communities out
everybody,
there.
anybody, the
Those
corporate
guys,
business
the
people, the
corporate businessmen,
bankers,
the banker,
anyone.
exactly, the doctors, the nurses, all the way to the advocates that do all the hard work,
And the growers, the
the
home
growers, the home
cultivators.
cultivators, because remember, no matter what, my basis is home cultivation. So
That's
we
right.
always encourage everybody to grow. If you're in between grows and you don't have a little extra, stop on down. You know what I mean?
That's
Well,
right. That's right.
but if you're growing, grow and come talk about it because we have a lot of employees that have been justice impacted and those that still cultivate by themselves. We have all walks of life in our space. So we encourage you to do it legally because there is a legal way to cultivate. Because definitely can't advocate for you not to do it legally, but any adult over the age of 21 can have 6 plants and go ahead and do it. I tell everybody, make sure they do it. If you do it right, you can set yourself up for a perpetual harvest that you might never need to do anything. If you do 2 plants 1 month, 2 plants the next month, 2 plants the next month, when you go to harvest those, you'll be picking up 2 plants, then 2 plants, then 2 plants.
Right.
And they don't say how big you can get. So, hopefully you can get a good sized plant that'll give you
There's a
that
lot
half
of good
pound.
books out there. There's one called Five to a Light.
There you
That's
go.
very hard, but it cost $100. This book.
Yeah.
It's called Five to a Light, and that means 5 pounds
Yep. To
per
one light.
plant to one light. So
Yep.
there are methods to be able to grow 6 plants and get quite a bountiful harvest if you know what you are doing. And that is an important part of cultivating.
And that
And
takes trial and error. So don't get discouraged if your
yeah,
first harvest doesn't come out the way you need it to do.
that's
Um,
right. That's
you
right.
know,
And there's plenty of information out there now. It used to be kind of hidden secrets. You used to have to know the right people and talk to the right. But now there's books, there's classes. There's luckily here in Connecticut we have about 6 grow stores
yep.
that all will educate you and help you along the path. It's not like they sell you stuff and go out the door. You're able to call them. They will give there's plenty a lot people don't realize the amount of resources out there for home cultivators now. Not just the expertise of other people, but just
You know what? Let's give
availability.
some of our friends some shout outs. If you're in the
Yes,
New Haven Hampton area, Grow City Depot.
that's right.
If you Gold Coast Grow in Brantford, you can go to Shoreline Hydroponics up in Madison. You can go to Metatronics out in Meriden.
That's right.
Who else do we got off the top of our heads?
Mr. Nice Guy.
Mr. Nice in Canterbury, if I'm not wrong.
That's right. And 860 Grow.
860 Grow. And these are all friends of ours that have been on the show that will, if you walk in and say, hey, I heard about you guys on the radio or someplace else, they would love to give you a ton of extra conversation. Who knows? Maybe they might have some samples in the back that they'd be willing to share with you as well.
Maybe a little discount.
You
You
know,
never
maybe you
know.
never know because it's all about community. These are locally owned places, very similar to, Nautilus Botanicals. Shameless self plug. But you
Or
can come
Better
in.
Ways or any
Better
of the
Ways.
local
Oh yeah,
guys.
your different CBD shops. Big shout out to Duncan over at Better Ways. Voted the CBD shop of the last like 5 years, if I'm not wrong. He keeps winning that Shoreline Award for best CBD shop. So go check him out over at his. He'll be on the radio with us today, hopefully, right?
In a few minutes, he's in the waiting room. We just got to
I
get
mean,
ours talking out there. We got to talk about the big news
yep,
that
yep.
Nautilus Botanicals finally opened after a 3 year,
Ooh,
and I'm going to
baby.
say it, struggle getting it going. It was a huge day. There was just such a good vibe in the air, and I want to shout out to some of the people who did show up. Uzma came down.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Kavnisha came down. Kavnisha Boyd came down. Kristen came
Yep,
down. Our ex co-host, Joe Raymond came down.
that's right.
Lou Pino came down.
Yep, a mix of everybody. Duncan was
Duncan,
also down.
Rich
Um,
from Bohemian
it
came
was
down.
it's a
Right?
blessing to offer a space for these things. And I tell everybody right now, this is just a start to get us kind of moving and going. We're
Yeah.
giving a lot of shelf space to the social equity owners and the more smaller businesses. We're not necessarily carrying the full lines of a lot of the other companies just due to, trying to
Yeah.
make
No.
sure to support where we are. And I tell everybody all the time, and this goes to literally everything. Vote with your dollars, support with your dollars, advocate with your dollars. If don't want to shop someplace to add to their bottom line, then don't shop at those
Yeah.
places or buy those products. Anything from Nautilus Botanicals will come help and support our associates. Support, the money stays here in Connecticut, in New Haven, versus
Yeah.
going everywhere else, which is a big portion of it.
Right.
And then even the spaces on our wall, we don't charge any of the local artists for anything that they bring in here. We make sure 100% of all of it goes right to them.
Right.
So,
And we got a lot of cool stuff planned. Anybody who knows you and I, Lou, throughout the years, we've been always ahead of the curve planning cool events. We've done classes together. We've done paint and puffs together. So anybody who knows us knows that whatever, your dispensary is going to be different than everyone
to
else's.
go. We really hope. And I think the idea, not to take over too much time but you were down there, Joe, and we've had these conversations. Joe, the weed guy, will be hosting. I don't want to say happy
Events.
hours, but coming down for educational
Yep.
things. I know that we'll have. Hopefully, Duncan. I'm pre-booking you without even asking you. We'll have Duncan come down and talk about cannabis. He can hang out here for a little bit. Make sure that he can share all his knowledge as a professional CBD and
Right.
patient advocate so that he can have some space here and talk. We have this really cool little consultation room that I'm actually recording out of now that will give a nice little safe space for anybody that wants to have
I
those
think we can do the
conversations.
show from there every now and then, even if
Yep,
it's not every
you
week.
know.
We can do it live from Nautilus.
That's right. Kevnisha, our great friend who's been a great advocate, has volunteered some of her time to come down and speak with patients. So, not just from the pharmaceutical medical side, but from the therapy, holistic side of it as well. She'll come down and be available for our medical patients and adult use patients.
That's great.
Our
I know
friend Michelle
Uzma will be coming down
Uzma
doing some
has
stuff.
Uzma has dedicated some time to come down and share some of her holistic therapies and pharmaceutical knowledge to our patients, again, free of charge. So we're doing all of this so that it doesn't come out of pocket. Sometimes, at least our local communities don't have access to a lot of it because they're scared of the price points and things. But you can come in here; it'll be totally free. Advice and education from medical professionals, not from me. I'm just a regular dude. You know what I mean? We know some things, but those
Right.
individuals have put so much work on both the lifestyle side of it and have done the research and have created the research space for it because Kavnisha is creating these programs. Uzma is
Yes.
creating they are
Yes.
doing the research themselves. They're not relying on other people's research. They're not relying on other people's, oh, I think this might happen. They're actually doing it. Kavnisha has now accredited educational events. Has accredited educational events. Michelle Valle is doing accredited education events.
Yes. These are people with the letters after their name. These are
Yep.
not Joe and Lou.
And they've taken a lot of risk
We're
to
the
be able to do
organizers.
it.
That's what we.
Yeah, and they've taken a lot of risk on their own part to be able to do it, So a big shout out to them for putting their letters, their credentials, kind of in scrutiny's view by
Oh,
saying, no, we're
yes.
leaning into cannabis.
They left the medical industry. They were all part of the medical monopoly that doesn't necessarily heal people, and they all came to the conclusion that cannabis does. They left and became like renegades.
Yeah.
And now, because the community is growing, because people are starting to see that cannabis does work as a medicine, now these professionals actually can expand their business, and there's actually a community that will come to them for medical advice, whereas before it was like no, 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 And I'm hoping the medical industry and I want to mention Nautilus Botanicals is a hybrid facility. So if you are a medical patient and you don't feel like you're getting the care that you need from your other dispensary, please come down because, like Lou said, we will have experts down there who can really, really help you pinpoint what you need and be able to help you choose from what is available. And as Lou said, as
And I'll throw it out there, or what you might want to grow yourself.
that's
Because
right,
remember,
that's one thing.
no matter what, we still advocate for that home cultivation. That's one of those things that we need to make sure we continue to push.
And that's
Um,
going to be make you unique. I don't see very many other dispensaries doing that.
well, I'm not a dispensary person first. It just so happens it's kind of what the path that it's taken first and foremost. I'm a self advocate. I
Yeah,
try to
you,
push for
yeah.
things that help other people that were in the very similar situation as myself. But I tell everybody all the time, we're pushing for the reasons that for things that directly affect me.
Yeah,
We fight
yeah,
for
yeah.
on the
No
justice
better way to
impacted
change the
side.
industry from the inside. I mean, literally.
Yeah, like we focus on justice impacted things because I'm justice impacted. I'm trying to fight to make sure that my record also gets expunged. So
I'm in the
I'm
process
gonna.
too.
That's right. So we want to make sure everybody understands their right to get
And you know what?
their
Thanks
record
to the cannabis
expunged.
laws, we're able to do that.
That's right. And nothing's perfect. And today we'll be able to talk about it because the advocates that we have on today have been doing this firsthand. Like when you
Yes.
want to talk about who's the guy up there, is Duncan and Joe with the rest of the Canna Warriors, Christina. Give all those guys a shout out. And I know
Yeah.
who would be better other than Joe and Duncan to make sure that every one of those individuals gets their name out there. So Joe, can
Yes.
we welcome
Yes. And before I do want to shout out our hosts of this show, the New Haven Independent, for writing a really, really glowing article about, which actually covered all the areas, home cultivation with Lupino. And then you had the advocacy with Joe and Duncan in there. Then you had a little bit of interview with you and I. I think it really was a great article that they wrote, and shout out to them for hosting the show for 7 years, first of all, and supporting us and coming down to the opening and to the Register too. Got two nice articles written about us, and I want to shout those newspapers out for taking a risk and covering it.
It is a
So
risk because they can definitely catch all slacks of it because, comment sections are not nice.
that's right. No, but I did see one comment in there, and it was nice. So that's
There was
good.
a good one in there, but in the nice mix. But I definitely, because we are moving forward, before we hit that 20 minute I want to make sure we get our guest in so that they can have as much time as possible to talk about the bills that
What's
are going
happening
in,
up there?
specifically the caregiver bill.
Yes, yes, specifically that. All right. So with us right now, we have Duncan Markovich and Joe Raymond from the Connecticut Canna Warriors. The Canna Warriors is a community-led grassroots advocacy organization dedicated to cannabis liberation and social justice. They're not a nonprofit, they're a movement. The mission is to fight for full cannabis freedoms, support those in need, and challenge the unjust laws that harm individuals and communities. The Canna Warriors stand for education, empowerment, and equitable access, working relentlessly to free the plant and free the people. Bless and give thanks, for we are one and we are love. Peace and love from the Canna Warriors. All right, with us now, Joe, Duncan, how are you today? Nice seeing you guys again.
How are you guys? First, I want
Right.
to congratulate Lou. What an awesome grand opening that was Saturday. It really felt like a community event, and it definitely was. And to see so many familiar faces out there, and I'm really excited to see where you help to influence this whole industry, Lou, going forward. It's very exciting.
I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. We're trying to make our moves. I think that the cultivation will be the biggest part of being able to do that, and that's the where we'll actually be able to put some real grow at it. And I think that once the cultivation is up and we're able to make products, we're going to be able to price them accordingly. Going to be able to make sure that patients have the right access. We're going to be able to make sure the right strains are coming in. And this is
And
my
you'll get
official.
feedback
Yeah,
from
and this
from
is
your
the
actual
official.
clients and
This is
customers.
Joe. This is the official, between Duncan and Joe and the rest of the Canna Warriors. Once the grow's up and running, we will be relying heavily on all of the community to say, hey, what are we growing?
Yeah.
We
Right.
have this space, what's needed in the community, and we can actually do it over what's a need versus what's the,
Most
most profitable.
profitable,
Look, see,
right?
you have the same.
Jinx,
Yeah, so
right?
that's the idea is what's needed to be grown and then where it comes from. Because a lot of
Yeah.
times people don't understand that when you're doing these cultivations, where are the clones coming from? Where are the seeds coming from? Are they coming
Yeah.
from some churned out company out of Canada or
That you get
something?
over
Or
the
are they
mail
coming
order, right?
right, or are they coming from, original legacy based operations that have that? So
And there's a lot of geneticists, I guess you would call them that, in Connecticut that people don't even understand.
and I
Lupino's been
think
doing
that's
it for
a
years. There's just a
Well, there's
few
like
out there.
terrapin terpenes, and realistically, that's where a great conversation for Duncan comes into because Duncan hosts those genetic events. So I think
Yes.
that that's where we can highlight a lot of those things.
Yeah.
And again, you're a home grower. You can grow. Like you can go stop into any of the grow shops. You can stop into Better Ways. You can pick up some seeds and actually talk to people that have grown those things.
Yeah. So, I mean, there is a lot of information out there which hasn't been out there before, and people need to be able to take advantage of it.
So me and
And go ahead. With that, I was going to bring you guys on
bit
because
for
speaking of grow, you guys have been really, really pushing hard for this caregiver bill that is up in the legislature. And you had some news today, Joe, that you wanted to share. You've made some progress on the bill, but I really want to dig deep into this bill and see what it actually entails and how it will benefit and move forward the cannabis industry. So let us know what's going on with that bill up there, the number of it,
So the
And
bill is bill number HB, House Bill 5429, and it's the Canna Warriors caregiver bill. And basically, before session, have been talking about how we had to be proactive and get policy out. And I think it was last session, we had been talking about the main caregiver policy. And one of the Canna Warriors, Josiah Schlee, started to put together pieces of other states' Canna Warrior caregiver policy and kind of craft a basic framework for Connecticut. And then furthermore, we had a good ally this year in MJ Shannon. He was a former legislative office building clerk who actually sat in on a lot of the public hearings in the past where, D'Agostino and other legislators would kind of not hear us out. They would be fighting us on things. So he saw the struggle and the years of work we've put in to try to, make sure fair policy gets passed. And when he got elected and became representative of the West Haven, now he's become the co-sponsor of that bill and a huge ally to the Canna Warriors, along with Lori Sweet. And they've been, really helped us to push this bill and other bills forward as well.
I did want to ask you that now that Mike D'Agostino is no longer involved, really, has the climate up there changed a bit?
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%. D'Agostino was the type of gentleman who will jump in between any conversation where the cannabis would come up if he was, in the room, and then totally take it over and tell you why his way, which was the corporate model, was the only way to go. And as we see now, the monopoly is not. There's no variety there. They're not holding up with demand. There's issues with things that are grown so commercially being not up to par. So
Safety standards, let's say.
Well, and then we also have the radiation. You know what I mean? We have cannabis and you won't find it in my shelves. But there's cannabis that's preemptively radiated, like just to make sure. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
there's suggested language now from the DCP saying if your first time remediated cannabis fails once, send it through again, and then if it passes, it can go on the shelves with a nice little sign saying it's been remediated twice. I think Tess Edom from Colorado, she's a brilliant scientist, and she summed it up pretty well and just said, would you eat food that was rotten and then remediated? Would you eat it then? So it's kind of the same concept. And,
yeah, totally agree with that.
But Lou, I definitely want to echo Joseph's sentiments from the beginning, and thank you again. Saturday was amazing. We had a great time. Congratulations again. I'm really excited to, what you said, like once your cultivation is up and getting feedback from the Connecticut community, not we're some operator and this is what this market likes the most and this is a different state's preference. And no, like Connecticut deserves to be heard.
Right. They need to be taken care of.
The Connecticut patients deserve to be taken care of as they should have been this whole time. So I'm excited to hear someone like yourself when you say, we're going to be listening and taking that feedback from the community and the patients. Like, I know that's actually going to happen, and it's not just lip service.
Yeah, no, that's the truth. We'll do it right here on the air.
Yeah.
We'll do it right on the air. You guys will always have an invitation down to the cultivation facility, especially because you guys hold the knowledge. Joe, not to put your information out there, but if you ever have I know Joe is very, very open in sharing that he has some cultivation knowledge, and I can't wait to hopefully tap into that on a professional setting. Have some of those individuals that have been part of and that's what you'll see all the time. You're going to see individuals that come from the legacy market coming to grow. We have Lupino who's going to be doing some growing. We got my buddy Mikey, who's Dockside Fire for a very long time. He's been growing in the Mass and Rhode Island legacy market for a very long time. So, our growers are coming from the legacy market, and that's what we're going to really come into. A lot of different ideas.
we should be mindful again in this inertia. We've had home grow. I was just listening to a special yesterday about New Jersey's continued fight for home grow.
Right.
There is now language in one of the Department of Consumer Protections bills that is looking at our existing 12 maximum a household, 6 and 6, 6 in veg and 6 in flower.
Right.
They want to reduce it completely to
Oh, okay.
That's not viable.
6 total plants, 3 mature and 3 immature.
Ugh.
And there's
Oh,
no
3 per person.
and there,
No, total, right?
yeah, total. So 6 total plants a house.
Oh,
So what you were saying before, like every 2 weeks or so, your perma harvest, like this was something Josiah picked up. So while Paul Kirchberg, Dab and Dad, and the Hannah Warriors and everybody, while we fought very hard to get homegrow language initiated in there, we still can't grow outside technically and things like that. Now they're going after our plant count.
Yeah,
So
we have to,
our caregiver bill,
that's just the opposite.
HB 5429.
Yeah, let's dig into that.
Is supposed to not only show a evolved, continued, responsible pathway of, okay, once you're good at home grow, if that's your passion and calling and you're good at it and you help people, then you have a legal pathway to make a living out of it and further support the many gaps that are in any cannabis infrastructure in any state. You can't, regardless of if there's heavily regulated limited operators, you're still going to have nooks and crannies that need to get filled in as each year progresses.
Yes.
Our medical patients are front line. Like, they should always be supported first. So I think the potential fear or disinformation that might be getting passed around about this caregiver bill of, it's going to be the Wild West and then there's going to be weed everywhere. It's like, no, it's existing. It's been existing for 60 years. Whether people are going to remain in fear or in the shadows, why limited operators make millions of dollars and people are still in prison. Like, we need some common logic on this. So
how would this bill work? I'd like to know how you guys envision the logistics of it, because I know how the state would envision it.
So I like, that exists in Maine, like a cottage industry in terms of treating permitting as such. You basically would pay for a permit and, there would be tiers, but you're looking at something like 1,000 square feet secured in your own home. Or potentially, if if your town allows you to be zoned for it, to have that 1,000 square feet, in a secure area.
Greenhouse or something like that. You would like to expand that a little bit?
I'm talking indoor because,
well, greenhouse is semi indoor.
Yeah, right. But yeah. And
so now,
very simple. One thing that has gotten lost in the cannabis licensing is it is not equitable right at the base, right? Because
we've talked about that before.
You need a lawyer to basically,
you got to pony up $3 million. Isn't that equitable?
That doesn't even go into our infrastructure. Yeah, super equitable.
And then games of chance, like lotteries, to determine getting.
Exactly. Why is the lottery commission running it? What the hell,
And they don't want you to reflect after they get a couple of the right people, and then the rest of the ranch is all, political.
Yes,
people.
Political, right. People who should not have equity licenses, all that.
Right.
All the shenanigans that they allowed in at the beginning, it seems like now we have to go back and clean house, but also go back and try and push back against some of the more over regulation they want to do, like this plant count thing.
So
you would This is for medical patients only. Let's make this clear. First of all, it's not for adult use. You would have to be a registered A, medical caregiver, and B, your people would have to be medical patients registered with the state already as a patient, obviously, right? This is for medical patients.
Correct. We've been talking to lawmakers. We're trying to iron out some of the finer details as to like how a caregiver, do you have to be a medical patient to apply to be a caregiver?
I would say so.
Right.
Just to make them happy.
Of course, but we're also trying with this to meet people halfway because we've never done that before.
Mhm.
Right.
Instead of like enforcement, we're trying to it's like an extra measure of safety, right, for the caregiver patient relationships that are already going on. And these relationships are, we're seeing lots of success with them. People are getting what they need and safely and of the highest of quality.
Absolutely. We now have people who can help them not only take what they grow and turn it into medicine.
And if they do, this won't hurt the existing dispensaries. This is going to add to the robust marketplace that is Connecticut. Like they've streamlined everything into this state-run supply. We need to go outside of that. The caregiver policy brings innovation and it fills in gaps. And then on top of it, it's like a form of harm reduction for everybody.
Right.
This was the end of the war on drugs. We shouldn't have, our DCP going after now legacy market operators. There should be some kind of, real justice here.
Some kind of compromise, right? Like they did. I always bring it back to the craft beer industry. They started out as a very overregulated industry. You couldn't sell it. You could only brew it and sell it in your own little place. And throughout the years, eventually they expanded it. And now you got home brewers, you got people who can test. I mean, I could see if the state would just open their eyes, they could have a robust cannabis industry that matches that. And
it follows the cottage laws. I mean, that was in the Commerce Committee 2 weeks ago. Food cottage laws. It's the same framework. There are existing models that are successful. Josiah did a great job mirroring much of Maine's language and then customizing it in a way for Connecticut as well, as a, not this is set in stone, but this is a good
framework
for the conversation to begin on. And as to your question earlier about the shift in the tone with general law, certainly this session has been much more engaging in a manner that looks towards seems like some proactive work. And I do feel a little more hopeful this session around that
that you're being listened to,
not just listened to, but like there's a difference between being listened to and then being heard.
Heard, yes, true.
And I think they're hearing us in a more cohesive manner, not just in general law, not just in judiciary, but in other committees. And it's just, it's not unknown that up until now the program has been on a slide.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Major decline. We've lost patients.
We've lost patients.
Less patient base.
Patients leave because other states have reciprocity laws and better products, and we've talked about this ad nauseum. So
yes,
at the end of the day, the big resounding question to our legislators is how much more money do you want to lose? How much more?
And now the facts are out. It's in their face.
Right. The numbers are the numbers, but it's again, you gotta go behind the management philosophy of these decisions, and they're codifying our culture. They're trying to.
I've seen it happen within other cultures too.
Joseph, you were saying this the other day. Like, this is an existing community designed, deeply interconnected network of caregivers and patients and cultivators, and that I think that's exclusionary. Why should somebody who is a caregiver who's able to cultivate amazing medicine. What if they don't have a qualifying medical disease to allow them to be a medical patient?
Well, yeah, and I also think that means opening up a little bit more of our qualifications too.
Education opens up that bandwidth. When
Yes.
hats off to, Uzma and Kefnisha and Michelle and
Takesha,
like you said,
Kimura.
anyone with letters after their name, right?
Right,
You know,
right. A lot of
I
good
don't,
people doing a
you
lot
know,
of good stuff out there. Lisa
right.
Capitani will
Yeah,
make you a
absolutely.
custom tincture. I mean, she made me a custom tincture to my specifications of percentages of cannabinoids in there. Now that's a skill. And there are people out there who can do that if you grow
Right.
your own medicine.
Those are the experts and those are the leaders. They should be the ones helping alongside, crafting some of the language and framework for the laws, leading from the front, leading by example, because guess what? They're doing the right thing. They have the best intentions.
Their interest is medical. And
Right.
that
And
is
that's
important because a lot of people, and I think this happened in Connecticut, once we got the adult use in, the medical ends up taking a back seat where it should be the front seat.
yep. Yeah.
And we've lost, like you say, we've lost patients, but we've also lost dispensaries.
But
A lot of medical dispensaries closed or shifted over to complete adult use. So what Lou's doing as a hybrid, opening brand new, is very a risky proposition. And I want to touch base real quick though. But before we do, I want to say, do you see limits put on? Like, would you say a limit of 10 patients? I see.
I've been suggesting more along the lines of limits of per month of, how many units of flour or, that you've transferred to a patient, something along the lines of that, because I
Okay, that could
think
work.
limiting
Yeah.
just one or two patients is not really realistic.
No, no, but you know how the state is. They want everything quantified and regulated. So what I'm saying is to kind of stem that off, do you put that in there? Oh, we would be willing to work with because I think a way to do it is
I do
if
like
you
tickets.
people give their grow rights to you. Do you know what I'm saying? So in other words, you already allowed 6 plants. So I'm an adult,
For
21
now.
years old. For now, well, this is a fight, right? An adult. I'm a patient, medical patient. I'm over 21, whatever, and I say I want this strain. I like Blue Dream. They don't never have it at the dispensary. I am allowed 6 plants. Will you grow my 6 plants of Blue Dream for me? And we'll harvest it, whatever we work out between us, whatever is regulated through the state. Do you see that working as? So in other words, it would give you that patient 6 plants at least to work with.
I do like the caregiver system where it's more about the production of how much that caregivers put out per month, because again, that can get, I think, there's already, these caregivers are already seeing patients. I don't know about that seems like the old way that Connecticut used to define it or other states would define it, that, can get kind of,
The more
It
co-op way, yeah.
It seems counterintuitive. Like, all right, well, you're going to green light. It says caregiver in the title, right?
There has been a caregiver implemented allowed ever since the beginning of the program.
The intention of the caregiver is to help more medical patients, right? To fill the gaps.
Right.
So why would there be language to limit how many people can help other people?
I agree.
I think productive. I think that we'll think about it like this: if the production, if the total transference, the volume is it like what's
the
gonna
5 ounces or like
what's gonna have a bigger impact if you are only limited to 2 people in a month?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying here.
Let's be realistic with the same volume and say now maybe you could help 30 people with the same volume.
And you say, well, what's the state limit? 5 ounces, right? Per month. What are you allowed as a medical patient?
Oh, 6.5 in totality.
Okay, so 6.5 per month, right? You say this is what you could say the limit could be.
The purchase. Oh, the purchase in the medical.
Yeah, right.
Joe, do you know that?
Don't know what the limit is. I thought it was maybe.
I thought it was 5.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but we should, if you
I
could
thought you meant like
coordinate with
personal
that.
confession limits.
You know what I'm trying to say? If you could say, okay, we're only going to the limit would be whatever you're allowed legally. That we're going to give that patient that amount of product would be the limit. You could do less if the patient doesn't need as much.
I think the other safety net, again, because like this perception that it's going to go out of control and there's just going to be too much.
That's the problem with the state. That's what they're worried about.
That's a lack of education, because the wrong people they allow themselves to listen continuously to the wrong people. Those are the same people who have designed the existing infrastructure to what it is now, where 20,000 medical patients go off. The active roster, the numbers are down, production and purchase wise, and the ROIs are all inverted, and these big companies are freaking out. It's the danger of big scale operations. That's why this caregiver program focuses on 1,000 square feet or less. You got a 10 by 10 tent, you're golden.
You're done, right?
How could those bigger operators be shaking in their fiscal boots with something like that?
Yeah, something small like that.
Right, it's something so small. It's never going to be a volume game.
Right,
it's going to be about the existing culture between plant, patient, and caregiver. Not, I got the best deal on the worst mids, and this is months old, and you give me another $60, and that's 3 more out. Like, it's this is this has to stop.
Yeah. Now, where are we at with the bill?
It just has to. We are the Constitution state.
That's it.
Yeah,
you're right. We have to remind them of that. Where are we at with it? What committee? Where is it going right now? Because it seems to progress a little bit further than any of the other bills.
5429 is in general law.
Okay.
There's a few bills that we actually want to also make people aware about. They still are in like this legislative limbo. They need to be called for a hearing. So CAPM's mushroom bill, the decriminalization of psilocybin, that's HB 5456. There is a bill very near and dear to me. It's Senate Bill 970, and that's to really help just like what's going on with the medical program, pull an e-brake on what's happened to the Connecticut hemp and CBD industry.
Yeah, that was one we discussed heavily last week with Mike.
Yep, that one still needs to be called, so if people are aware of that. And then HB 6377 is a reform of the existing laws related to cannabis and equity. Again, there are people actively sitting for nonviolent offenses for cannabis in prisons in Connecticut while these companies are active and making a lot of money.
Right. Shout out to Jason, Last Prisoner Project, for working on that one.
Our other Canada Warrior General, as I like to call them, Christina Eva, has been furiously driving this the 6377. It's all parts.
And how about the consumption lounge bill?
Yep. So that's 60 HB 6056, and then there's a proposed. So that's for consumption lounges, cafes, and restaurants for cannabis, much like a bar is a consumption.
See, that's a bill I'm very interested in. Do you think that now, Mike? Last week said that bill may fall by the wayside because they put other bills prioritized.
It only falls by the wayside when the momentum behind it and the conversation ceases. So that's why we're talking about it now. So
Yes. So we have to gather people together who want consumption lounges to back up this bill. Well, I'm one of them, and I know there's a few
I'm
other
another
people.
one. We
I don't
have,
want to see that get lost in the shuffle. I know it'll be a process, but it's important to keep that to the forefront because it will expand the industry and move it forward.
yep. There's
anything else though, it's important to find out the actual where they want to end up with that bill too, because I have not spoken with and reached out to Baumgardner and did not get a response. And I'm trying to see where he's trying to end up, because we could want consumption lounges, but where he's going to end up and where I'd like to end up could be two different places.
Yep. And that's why these
we
conversations.
don't want it to be corporate
The
consumption
conversations
lounges.
and the destigmatization. Then there's HB 6782. That's the industrial hemp bill, which is pretty cool. I know Mike talked about that last. And then there's a proposed bill 642, and that is a ban on single-use plastics in the cannabis industry. And I think that's another proponent. You got to look at how
let's use hemp packaging.
Precisely. There's no reason why we can't and shouldn't. These bills are like, when you see the scope, I think there's 30 bills, cannabis bills, some good.
I know there were 27, I think.
Some ridiculous ones as well, but we don't have to waste our time on those because they're distractions.
They're silly.
The bills that we mentioned are really important to just continue. We talk about them. Other people are going to listen to this show. I know legislators listen to the show as well.
We need to send them links.
It is time. That is definitely the message we want the legislators to just have in their brains at all times. Whenever they think cannabis, it's time for change. This has been 5 years. This preordained infrastructure has had 5 whole years,
and it's proven to be a money losing.
Oh yeah, that's obvious. That's
proven.
obvious.
The facts show it.
How do you be the only kids on the block and screw it up this bad? This is That's
because they thought they were the only kids on the block.
Yes, and
they weren't.
But that's not community focused. This plan is always community focused because it focuses on healing and not money. So people who come from money either have to have an ego death and figure that out on their own.
Well, they better go see the Buddhists over there.
or they're going to be stuck in this forever cycle of chasing money and paying back people and never being happy and growing mids. And these medical patients are suffering.
Yeah, and this is a way to help alleviate their suffering. I want people to get behind it. There's one more thing I want to bring up, and I know you guys have come out behind this to help the medical industry, and Lou can maybe jump in on this a little. The idea of having a pharmacist on premises for the entire time that a medical or hybrid dispensary is open is, I think, at this stage of the game, maybe in the beginning it was necessary because you had a lot of new people coming in, unnecessary,
totally.
And that it can be done much more efficiently through telemedicine. Because let's be real, the real reason to have a pharmacist on premises is to consult with patients when they first come in and as needed along their journey. That doesn't necessarily have to be done in person. And a lot of people don't realize that a pharmacist, not a pharmacy tech, a pharmacist is a 6-figure position, a well-registered pharmacist in the state of Connecticut. That is an extra burden put on to these medical dispensaries to just stay open.
Real quick, that is one of the things that's really eye-opening to me, is that they've added in these dispensaries all these points of friction that are big portions of the losing part of the dispensary formula in Connecticut. You have, sometimes it takes 2 to 3 minutes to get your order because a certified pharmacist now has to, search for it in the back and be the only hands that touch it and pass it through a hole. That's unnecessary and could potentially put an equity applicant out of business. Absolutely. And it's kind of ironic that somebody from that, big pharma type mechanism is the one that's going to hurt, the little cannabis operator. I mean, they definitely need to get rid of it. And furthermore, I've always said you should have an elder patient in there to talk to new patients coming in and to help them find what they need. Who's more experienced around the plant and knows better than an elder patient? I mean, having a pharmacist who's experienced in pharmaceuticals, they
can be on call as a consultant. I mean, telemedicine is being used to give out the recommendations. Why can't it be used to do the pharmacy consultant as well? It's not something you need to be there face to face for.
Much changed after COVID. Obviously, the medical program got set up before then. So on site, again, we had the only pharmaceutical pharmacology influence into the cannabis infrastructure in the country. For the medical dispensaries, you either had to be a licensed MD, a licensed pharmacist to own or operate. That immediately creates, that echelon
absolutely
of culture, and they're like, just because
it makes it fiscally and financially almost, and this is why I think some of the big guys, Curaleaf closed all their medical dispensaries. Why? I think it was just, to have that expense wasn't profitable enough to them to keep open. So if a big company like that decided it wasn't profitable, what do you think it means to a small person who's trying to open up and serve? I mean, you got to realize that. And I think the state, now, is this something up for discussion? I know last year it was, and it didn't make it through. Is this up for discussion again?
DCP have doubled down in their codifying of the regulations, doubled down on their support of pharmacists in the medical program. And you could read their exactly what they wrote. I think it was 2 days ago. I actually have it posted on the Hibisar Instagram, but I think it's very important to continue pressuring them to take this point of friction out of dispensaries, because they're going to put dispensary owners out of business for having medical cannabis in their building.
I agree.
Or the good pharmacist, like Uzma, for example, like somebody who is professionally trained. She left the medical program because she saw what was going on. Why couldn't somebody be at one of these hybrid or medical dispensaries in person once or twice a week, and then everything else is, on video call, and then you have your registration days and then you align the scheduling of educating medical patients with in-person, on-call, experts.
Right. It's very simple.
I mean, if the Superior New Haven judges can go online and hold serious court proceedings virtually, there's no reason, or what's like one of the Connex, those digital tellers, everything has changed.
And yes, it's right. The medical program was implemented in 2012. It started. Right. So this is an antiquated model. We got to revise it a little.
They must revise it. This is one of the fastest moving industries in the world.
And Connecticut has to, in other words, adjust for both sides of it. They've, and they've really screwed up kind of both. And they have, a lot of what you guys have been working on and all the other activists and everybody else is fixing what is broken. And I think this year we actually have a chance with this industrial health bill, with the cannabis caregiver bill, and with the consumption lounge bills. Those are 3 bills that will actually expand the industry and offer more opportunities for new businesses to start and really make it a much more robust industry. And I think maybe now, as you're saying, maybe they're a little more open. Maybe their ears are a little more open now, and we can actually make some more progress forward instead of trying to just always repair the broken car. Anyway,
I believe that
we've been saying the same stuff since, for me, the message has been clear and the same since 2019. We could have avoided much of this mess.
Yes.
However, you two, Lou, Christina, Cody, Paul, You know, you
Oh,
guys
yeah,
have
all
been in
the
this. You
people.
guys have been in this for decades.
Jason,
Jason, I just
all of them.
So I do believe that legislators are hearing us. I believe that who aren't hearing us right now and don't want to hear us is the Department
DCP.
of Protection.
Okay.
And the finer we look at who is involved in regulating this industry, a lot of these people were part of the first four horsemen. I mean, even the program director of cannabis in Connecticut, the director of enforcement for the DCP is Jennifer Manzik, who was the CEO of Theraplant up until last year.
Okay, so we see the nepotism that's happening just like in the federal government.
The ground basically sued them for almost $500,000, and now is the
One.
manager of
She
the.
won it, and then she was out, and now she's running
That's not
Connecticut's program.
That's not good.
That company was also involved with all the corruption with.
Of course, they were the worst. I mean, they were the one. They went bankrupt. They had to get bought out. They were involved in more scandals than Curaleaf. So yes,
Well, almost.
oh, close. They're tied.
Close. The
But yeah,
point
they
again,
had issues. Why would you put her in charge? She didn't run that place. Anyway, we're almost out of time, guys. I want to thank you all both for coming on and Mike last week and clarifying some of these bills. And I hope some of our listeners, this has motivated you and sparked you to maybe write a testimony, to maybe get involved. Just send an email to your legislator, you know.
two sentences. It doesn't have to be
right,
huge.
right.
I'm a medical patient. I used to get this. I don't get this anymore.
That they just need to hear from people besides activists and advocates. They need to start hearing from the patients and the consumers themselves, the adult use consumers, about what they want and what needs to be changed, what they want to see, and why do they go to Massachusetts instead of buying, and why do they go to New York, and why do they cultivate themselves, or why do they go to the legacy market? Because this is what's lacking, and they need to hear that. And I want people to know that their voices can be heard.
DCP needs to hear that.
Yes. Yeah, right. You should send these emails to DCP.
Those legislative changes have to be understood by DCP. And again, Commissioner Caffarelli and the whole team over there, these proposals are to work with you, but you have to work with us. We've been asking for several years. We're not, these aren't new. We're not reinventing the wheel. These aren't crazy concepts. People aren't going to get hurt, but you need to let our side of the conversation participate more, because the patients are demanding it. Now they're demanding it.
Yeah.
They were
asking. We got to go. We're almost time. Tell us how we can get the best information, how people can find out how to do it. Is it the Canna Warriors Facebook page? What's the best place?
The CT Canna Warriors Instagram. It's at CT Canna Warriors. If you want to follow me, you could follow me at Support Your Local 710 or highbazaar.ct.
Okay, so follow Instagram and then also CCSBA. I know we had them on last week. They also have a ton of information on their website. I think between the two, Canna Warriors and CCSBA, the people can find out everything they need and support these bills. And let's make the cannabis industry a real thriving, robust industry here in Connecticut.
We are definitely going to get cut off, Joe. You know that there. But I hope all of our artists stay happy, healthy, and high. All right, my friends? Joe?
Love you guys. Thank you for coming on. We'll see you all next week. We got Danny Danko coming on. Going to be a great show. Hit the music, Harry. I'm sorry.
Peace.
Maybe we don't get music this week. I don't know. But anyway, peace out, guys. Thank you so much. Please get involved.
Thanks,
we
Lou.
love you.